I'm very excited about that. I'm not even going to look at chat because I know that there's going to be some.
Dude, it's so bad, dude.
I can't look at it. I looked at it. I read the word VoIP and I looked away because I. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast, a show dedicated to talking about all the poggers things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I'm one of your co-hosts, JesseKazam, an Escape from Tarkov YouTuber and streamer.
And I'm Veritas. And this episode is brought to you not by Mentos.
And I got Dementos.
We are not #not sponsored.
#not sponsored.
Fucking fresh maker. How's it going, bud?
I'm okay. I'm a little sad this week.
Oh shit! Jesse has gone full Veritas. Talk to me, bud. What? Come on now. I need to make you.
Oh man.
I'm gonna be your therapist instead of the other way around this time.
I mean, it's just, I mean, with some of the stuff, some of like the Tarkov related stuff that we'll talk about is just, I guess, a little bit of a head scratcher. And then, I know we talked about this. We found out like yesterday or today, or like yesterday, I think, that they delayed New World another month, and that was my like, all right, I probably only have like a month of Tarkov left before I'm really gonna be like wanting to start play other games, and it was perfect. And now they delayed it, so that's a whole nother month. So,
oof.
Yeah, big oof. It was funny. There was like it was like there was like a mourning on Twitter when they announced it, because there are a lot of people that have been like using that game to escape Tarkov.
Nice,
but I'm good. Life is good, man. How are you?
All right, I'm all right too. Yeah, same shit, different.
Yeah.
Episode.
Oh my God! Before we talk about anything, we have got to talk about your video, the Tarkov Dance. Oh, that was so good, dude. And then did you see the comment?
Your clip was the best,
dude.
The best. It was the perfect addition.
And what was crazy is that like all of that was in one clip. Like, I didn't send Veritas a bunch of clips to be added. That like 12-second teleport and the absolute shenanigans that ensued with all those player scavs all happened within like 45 seconds of each other. Like it was
dude, I had to, like, there was so much going on and I wanted to focus, like zoom in. So like I was essentially replaying the same like 4 or 5 seconds over and over and over again. But like, look at the left side of the screen. You see like, oh, okay, a guy appears, then teleports, then rewinds, then disappears. It's like, okay, now let's watch the same thing from the right. And it's like, oh, a guy's running in place, and then a dude is just flickering in and out of existence.
Yep.
And then, you know, over here, you just see a guy nodding his head and another dude giving a thumbs up.
Dude, that was
and then down in the corner is Jesse just like, mouth agape.
The guy, the freaking player scav that was just like, yes. That was so
like, funny. Yes, it is fucking broken.
It is so broken. Dude, I went down to the comment section, like actually feeling this way. But this comment, he said, actually started watching this, finding it was funny, ended with me crying. EFT will always be the best, worst game I ever had. And I was like, oh, this, like, I know Veritas has been working on this video. So I clicked it and I was like laughing. And by the end, I was actually sad. I wasn't even smiling anymore. I was sad. I was like, this blows, because it's such a like plague on the game. You know what I mean? Because so much, like, I've been sniping a lot recently, doing all the Tarkov shooter quests, and it's just like impossible to mid to long range snipe people when they're just like, oh.
And then even if they're standing still, the zeroing will fuck you over. And then even if you hit your shot, see, actually, we were maybe this is an interesting thing that we can pop into like briefly, because this was kind of a topic that we were having before we started. There's nothing more than I hate in this game. Well, that's an exaggeration, but right now it's the thing I hate, because I'm trying to do fucking the quest where you have to use the M700 with the worst scope in the game. It's like a 27x.
Oh yeah.
And kill Sturman.
Yep.
Which is like, I've been spending 4 days and I haven't even gotten him in my sights once.
Yep.
I've seen him, but then I aim down sights and I'm like looking at the fucking like Jupiter.
Yeah,
and it's like, 100%. What?
Looking at two pores on a different scav's face, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I can see the sniper scav on shoreline. Like, whoa, wait a minute. What? But I hate that it's so hard to hit shots when you're sniping with a bolt action in Escape from Tarkov for like 17 different reasons. The zeroing we've talked about a million times.
Yep.
The zeroing is fucked. All the scopes are inconsistent. Even if you manage to like line up your shot perfectly, the movement is so inconsistent that you have to get lucky, because like they are gonna freeze at any random point. So if you pull the trigger, you hope that they freeze and unfreeze the exact amount that puts them where the bullet's gonna be in the future.
Additionally, because there's a lack of inertia, if you miss your shot and they're aware of you sniping, the zigzag is basically impossible to counter. There's no inertia, so they can change direction at any point, and it's just if they know you're sniping at them, it's so hard to hit them.
And then at that point, like, to be an effective sniper, you kind of have to be like hidden, but then also you can't really be mobile, right? Like you can't like be standing, shoulder your gun and hit somebody at fucking 300 yards. Like it's just not going to happen. You really need to be like prone somewhere. But as soon as you take one shot, everybody on the map knows exactly where you are. Which means you went from being invisible to being the easiest target on planet Earth to hit from anybody, and most likely a third party. And then even if all of the stars align and you hit them, if you don't hit them in the head, and if you do hit them in the head and, the bullet ricochets or whatever, like you have to hit them with like 3 bullets, basically. Yeah. So we were talking about, I was basically saying how I just wish that like if you have a bolt action and you hit somebody at 200 yards, it should do like double damage, 300 yards, triple damage, dude. 400 damage. Like that would be a really easy way to just make it so that like bolt actions are viable and that sniping is reward. And people are like, oh, I hate getting one shot. It's like, I still get one shot all the time from all over the place. I was about to say, but in this case, it's like if someone hits me from 400 meters in the back, in the spine or whatever, I'm okay. Or in the arm, and it pens the arm 100% of the time, and it hits their chest, and it will do more than 85 damage, and it'll kill them. At 300 yards, I'm like, you hit me with the netcode and the movement being the way it is from 300 yards, you deserve the kill.
Yeah, sniping is a thing, and we've both been experiencing a lot in game because we're doing these quests, but like sniping just fundamentally feels bad in a game, you know what I mean, where a lot of things feel more realistic than in other games. Sniping feels weird because the raids are over so quick for the most part. It's hard to consistently know where to find people. You're going to find 1 or 2 people. You really are, like the way bullets travel through suppressors. A lot of the suppressors, especially on something like an M700, bro, are loud still. The suppressors, which, I know that suppressors aren't movie suppressors, but it broadcasts your location. There's only ever a few good places to snipe, and then everyone knows you're sniping, and it's really easy to counter snipe you. And they're just like, at the end of the day, there just is no real reason to be using a bolty over a TX-15, an SR-25, an M4 or a FAL, right? Like, you know what I mean? You can just semi-auto. Those guns shoot just fine. In my opinion, 5.56 is one of the easiest calibers to like. I don't zero it. I just know flat. That it shoots flat. So it's like if it's way out there, I'll just pull up a little bit and it's gonna be fine. So, and then additionally, the sniper skill is so broken. You know what I mean? Like you're actually rewarded, to shoot leg, arm, leg, thorax, head. And you're a better sniper because you can incapacitate a scav and then shoot him 5 more times before he dies.
Like torture them.
Exactly. As opposed to landing a sick 330 meter headshot on him and getting, 2 whole sniper points for that. That would be so sick. You know what I mean? Yeah. That would single-handedly like break up the flow, because if more people are running bolties, more people are going to be playing different ways than they would normally, which means, it's just like stuff like that. So sniping is in an interesting spot, and I get that from a certain perspective. Like the maps aren't laid out like the old school, like Arma 1,000-meter snipes, right? Like they're just not laid out that way. That's okay. You know what I mean? I don't think I mean, I think it'd be cool to have a map where you could like consistently hit 500, 600, 700 meter snipes and make those like March tactical scopes viable. But I don't think that they should do stuff to every map. But even the maps here, it just with the zero wing, you'll be shooting someone from 200 meters, but depending on what ammo you're using, it can feel like you're shooting at them from 1,200 meters because you shot above their head and it landed at their feet, and you're like, what? And then you swap to a 5.56 gun and you shoot above their head and it goes right over their head, and you're like, wait, what?
So I mean, so to me, like, the reason why I bring this up, and the conversation always diverts to a bunch of other things. Now, and here's the thing. Sure, like DMRs, you know, there's a lot of things that people will say. DMRs are used IRL more than bolt actions for such and such a reason. And it's like the same reason why they're used in Tarkov over bolt actions, because they shoot the same rounds, but they are much better in every other way. They have more bullets in a more ergonomic, compact package. They're just as accurate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like, okay, cool. Don't make a third of the fucking quests force me to use something that is just a worse version of something else. Yeah. Right? Like, I would be fine if they didn't change sniping at all and that none of the quests required a bolt action rifle.
Yeah.
Because then you'd only do it if you want to and it's fun and you're there for the challenge. Sure.
Yeah.
But I just hate that the game forces you to use them to do the quests for completely arbitrary reasons. It's like, hey, I want you to prove yourself, so you're going to be an idiot and go in underprepared for a situation. You have to be less than optimal. Use a shitty gun. You can't wear armor. You can't use meds. Like, it's so annoying that then also on top of it, it's kind of like one or the other. If you want me to use bolt action rifles for stupid reasons, then give me stupid benefits that match reasons. Or change the quests to be, you know, hit a 300-meter shot on somebody with any fucking gun. It doesn't matter what, you know. So
like kill 3 PMCs within 25 meters with a bolt action. Like, why? Like,
unless you want to make the TAWs a
when
bolt
is
action,
that? Yeah, when is that going to be a thing? And somebody said in chat, like, snipers don't aim for the head in real life. And that might be true, but, like, if every single bolt action in Escape from Tarkov, unless you're running PS, which is now 7N1, it is actually worse to aim for the thorax. Because I don't know what you think about this. It would feel like the best order of, like, where to shoot would be, like, head, legs, thorax. Because none of the rounds can one-tap somebody to the thorax. And I'm sure in real life they shoot for the center of mass because it's easier to hit and you can incapacitate an enemy with that, right? If I shoot you in the thorax, you don't even have to be pre-pained. You can keep running, right? Because I didn't break your leg.
You could be standing there. Like, the way that Tarkov works, I could be 100 meters away from you with iron sights. And if you shoot me, it'll hit in my chest, potentially, very likely hit my arms, reducing the damage even more and potentially not. So the kill shot might not even be a kill shot, even if it was. And then in the time it's going to take you to rack the fucking bolts and line up another shot, you can go bang and insta shoot me with whatever gun you have.
Yeah. So it's like, it doesn't matter if in real life snipers don't aim for center, or snipers would aim for center of mass. In Escape from Tarkov, that's the actual worst place to aim with bolt actions. If you've got a TX-15, it's a bigger mass to shoot at, and you can pop, 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 pop. If you got an SR-25, pop, 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 pop. But with a bolt action, it takes you what feels like 9 years to rack the bolt. And in Tarkov land, where you can just immediately pivot, move, go from 0 to full sprint, full sprint around cover with functionally 0. Like, if your thorax is at 5 health, it doesn't do anything to you. You are like functionally the same. You do not have to worry about painkillers. You do not have to worry about splints. You are not going to be running slower or taking damage. You're not ringing. Your head's ringing. You didn't get a concussion. So functionally, from 84 HP to 1 HP, it doesn't matter. You need to kill them in the thorax or aim somewhere that can incapacitate them. So I get it. Maybe snipers shoot it in real life, but it's like you gotta aim for the head with a bolt action in Tarkov. You have to.
Yeah.
It's the only way you're gonna kill anybody.
If you take a fucking Tylenol in Tarkov, if you're not dead, you are unaffected.
Yeah.
By everything. So if there's a 1 in a million chance I'm gonna hit this fucking shot because all the stars need to align. If you're 200 yards away and every broken mechanic and netcode and movement and everything is fighting against me, and I hit you in the shoulder blade, I want you to die.
Yeah.
But so what you want to avoid with this discussion is you want to avoid, like, you want to make it so that sniping with a bolt action is rewarded in some way proportional to the downside of sniping. Without making snipers used in close range completely OP.
Yes, which is why I like your distance basically modifier.
Yeah. And then also without also buffing DMRs. Like that's what my brain says. Like the goal is I want the power level of bolt actions to come up relative to everything. I don't want everything to go up because then there's still no reason to use bolt actions. I want bolt actions and only bolt actions. So, I mean, there's a lot of different things people thought about, like, oh, well, you know, bolt actions, you could make it so that only certain bullets could be used in bolt actions, and maybe those bullets have a lot more damage.
Yeah.
That's one way. Like, there's a lot of ways of approaching this. You could make it so that bolt actions impart some sort of damage multiplier or fragmentation multiplier on maybe that's a thing. You could make it so that if it's shot out of a bolt action rifle, one of the things I had said earlier was, and this was totally arbitrary, and again, this is just thought experiments. I'm not saying they should do any of these things, but we're just seeing, you know, throwing everything against the wall and discussing, you know, the implications. Imagine if like a bullet over 40 pen would, like, it basically ignores your arms. So it would still like zero your arm out, but it's not going to get stopped. It's going to go right through. And so like if you aim center mass, you're going to hit the thorax.
Center mass, yeah.
Unless you hit like stomach. But like if you aim high chest, the fact that their arms are like this doesn't mean that they have fucking level 6 armor.
Yeah.
blocking their level 6 armor. So I mean, there's a lot of different ways to go about it. Another, I don't know. Did I say the whole bipod thing? Because someone was saying that maybe you can only attach bipods to bolt actions, and maybe the bipod is like a fucking +5 crit modifier. You know, whatever. I mean, that's. I mean,
you're right. There's totally
getting a little more arbitrary, but
there's a bunch of different ways to do it. I love the RPG mechanic. Like it seems simple. Like the realism crowd would freak out, but yeah, dude, like. Bolt action snipers have a damage modifier from like 100 to 200 meters. It's an additional 20% damage. From 200 to 300 meters, it's additional 25% damage. Like, you know what I mean? Like you could put those numbers you know together to where it makes sense, because exactly right now close range bolt actions don't matter. And because here's the deal, right? Like you were saying this is a great analogy. We want to bring the power level of bolt actions up, not bring everything up. And we don't want to bring the power of bolt actions up to the top. If anything, I think that they should live underneath DMRs. But right now, outside of the quests, it's just not even a thought. At any range and in any map, in any circumstances, DMRs are better. I would love for it's like, if I'm going, you know, customs, I might want to bring an SR-25 because I might need to stop into the dorms. I'm going to be shooting close range. I want to be able to do that. But if I'm going woods or if I'm going reserve to snipe, now I say, oh, well, for this situation, a bolt action might be better for me because I can hit the one taps more often. So it's like, it's not even just that we want bolt actions to be better than this style of gun or better than this style of gun. It's that I want bolt actions to be better for this style of play. And if you don't want to play that way, then something else actually is better for you. But if I do want to play this way, this is rewarding for me. Whereas in Tarkov, normally there's like one or two things that are the best for every style of play. And that's what's weird. You know what I mean? That's what feels wrong. So
yeah, you can't have something that is the best in class for everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
which is why the 308 MDR. became so because
imagine
now
having,
it's full auto too.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine having a car that it can off-road the fastest and also can go on water super fast and can fly super fast and is also the most fuel efficient.
Yeah, it's electric and it's like
and chicks will instantly sleep with you because of
and
how
it's
fucking
cheap.
cool it is. And it's wicked inexpensive. You know what I mean? It's like if you put that in a racing game, everybody's going to use it. You know what I mean? So why, we're not necessarily saying everything needs to be balanced.
Yeah.
But again, it's just frustrating when a game is like, hey, I really want to motivate you to use this thing.
Yeah.
And also this thing sucks.
Exactly. It's like they've taken the initiative by bringing, 11 different quests into the game.
Yeah.
That are bolt action. So it's like that's what's confusing about it. It's like if you just had bolties because they were fun and cool, and if you wanted to role play, that's one thing. But you're the ones that are like bringing forth these 12 or 13 different quests, and it's like, oh man, like, well, help us out here, make it fun. You know what I mean?
Now I just had another idea that is a new idea, and I really like it actually. And I don't know if maybe. And this is for our sake of the argument, let's just say it only applies. There's a multiplier and it's for bolt actions.
And distance.
But you know how when you get hit with fucking Thor's hammer by Tagilla, you get you're like, oh shit, you are like really. That's what it feels like to get punched in the face in real life.
Yeah,
you are like legitimately like, where the fuck am I? I'm like, oh shit, it fucks you up. Yep. Imagine that's like the equivalent of getting knocked on your ass with the wind knocked out of you. There's nothing like that in Tarkov. You just instantly shift W and you're away. But imagine if you got hit in your arms or your chest with a 308 round from a bolt action from 800 fucking meters away, and you were like, boom, knocked on your ass, and you got up and you couldn't really control your character, like the drunk physics in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
You were kind of like, whoa, holy shit, because then you could hit follow-up shots much more reliably.
I love that idea. I was just obviously been playing a lot of New World. It's in every RPG ever, one of the stats you can get is a stun. That's basically what it is, right? Like imagine if bolties had a percent chance to stun, and it increases as the distance goes. And yeah, it's not like 30 or 40 seconds. It's just literally, like that same thing where you get hit by the hammer where there's like 2 or 3 seconds, which is like, okay, I hit my shot. I didn't kill him, but I'm rewarded enough to have the at least chance to put a follow-up shot down. You know what I mean? Because it buys me the time to rack the bolt and then acquire the target again. That would be, I really like that.
So take that idea and combine it with the other idea that I've wanted forever, which is it's almost the inverse. You might even think that these things are like opposing, but I hate stamina burn when you get shot. Because as a game mechanic, if you have to run from building A to building B, there's no way for you as a player. There's 8 million angles. You can't check them all. If you try to check them all, statistically speaking, they're like the enemy is going to be at one of the other angles that you're not looking. It's only if they're at the first angle you look at. Otherwise, you peek out and you're getting shot from somewhere where you don't see. You can't create cover because smoke grenades are useless. There's like nothing you can do. Some places only have one way in, one way out. So I hate when it's like, all right, I'm going to run to the building. You go to run to the building and then someone hits you with some buckshot from whatever, and then you have no energy, no stam, and it's like it's like a bad dream where you can't run from the fucking demigorgon that's chasing you, even though no matter how hard you try. So I would love it if there was like an adrenaline mechanic to where it starts at level 0, stress resistance, and it scales up. So maybe it's 1 second at first, at the beginning of the wipe, and then if you're max level, maybe it's 10 seconds or something, where when you get hit, that mode activates. And what that does is you have a painkiller effect for that period of time, 1, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and no matter where your stamina is, when you enter this mode, it should fill your stamina bar. Because it's a boost of adrenaline that basically is like fight or flight, like, oh shit, I gotta go.
Yep.
Which is arguably like it's just as arguable as, oh well, you got knocked on, you know, the wind knocked out of you and you got shot. So that's kind of why I want to combine them. If you get shot with a big ass round, center mass or arms, you know, like your upper part of your body,
Yep.
that should like incapacitate you in a different way than if someone's peppering you with pistol shots in your level 6 armor. That should give you a stamina boost, right? Like I feel like both things should apply there, because there's a difference between getting hit with a bolt action rifle at 200 yards away than getting peppered with 9mm bullets in your ankles. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I feel like both of those mechanics would make the game instantly overnight fucking way better.
I completely agree. So the thing is like, what's weird, do you find, I completely agree that I hate, and I'm trying to pull this up because we're going to talk about this in a second. Do you find that the freaking, it's super inconsistent to me, the like stamina? And I know that this is one of those confirmation bias things, but I always feel like when I'm tapping somebody from long range, they have unlimited stamina. I'm like I've hit you 3 times. When are you going to stop running? But then sometimes when I get shot, I had full stamina and I got shot twice and I have 0. And like my chat will attest, I have been like, my fuse for that has been shortening. I get so mad so fast. And even Finest XI sent me a clip because he was like, yo, I heard you've been frustrated about this. Check this clip out. And he was like, he was like crouched or something. He had like full stamina and it was like tap, tap, and it was just gone. The stamina is gone. It's in the red. You can't run.
I wonder if it's
like, what?
It could be shittier ammo. I'd have to check. Maybe higher damage ammo has more stamina burn. I forget how the mechanic
I don't know
works.
how that works.
So because you're not using HP bullets or rip ammo or whatever. Maybe rip ammo, people are using it and it's they have to
or
hit
when
you
certain
87
scabs
times.
hit me,
That's the worst part, is when it's like they're literally killing you with pinpricks and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
It's so annoying. You're like, like
Dude.
bee stings. Like, fuck off. And you can't run. And you're just like, little bit of damage, little bit of damage, little bit of damage.
It
like,
would
just
also,
kill me already.
Yo, you know what would be interesting as well? If stims, a few of the painkiller stims were like mana, potions, or that regen stamina. Not a bunch, but like, you know what I mean? Because that's what makes it hard too. If you get shot in the leg or something like that and you hit the painkiller and you still can't run, there's no, like, that would be an actual interesting use case for the adrenaline stim. Like it refills 50% of your stamina bar or something like that, right? It's literally adrenaline. Like, because I completely agree.
You know, that naturally occurring chemical that your body creates?
That actually increases stamina. Like, I think a bunch of, I'm for all of that. Like, I want that to be, I would love to have something that combats that's baked into your character that you can level up. Like, that's in the game, right? What you were talking about? Berserk mode.
Yeah, it's max level.
Stress resistance is Berserk mode, and you have a chance to have like 5 seconds of a painkiller when getting shot. Like, for all the people that think it's a bad idea, it's literally in the game. It's just who gets max stress resistance. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's in the game, and I want it to be more accessible and more of like a first-class citizen, and more. I mean, if this is one of those things that people would at me, but at the same time, it's like I'm basically saying this is like tax breaks for everyone, not just for the rich. Like, this is saying that like only the elite players get this thing, and I think everybody should have it to varying degrees.
Yes. I completely agree. I think that's frustrating. I don't care how realistic or unrealistic it is in real life. It feels so bad because it comes back to if Nikita's going to talk about and if this game is going to present itself as a game that makes you feel like the more prepared you are, the better chance you have at survival. That's one of my, and we'll talk about this with a few things. That's one of my biggest fundamental issues with Escape from Tarkov as it stands, is that in the marketing and when Nikita talks about the game and the way the game presents itself to the player, It wants you to think the more prepared you are, the better chance you stand for survival. And there's a lot of these things in the game that really make it feel the opposite. You could have the best armor in the game, the best helmet in the game, the best gun in the game, and a scav shoots you in the leg and you can't move and you have no stamina, and there's 47 player scavs who now have nothing to lose because they're not even fighting each other anymore, and you don't even stand a chance. And it's like,
so
my gear made it I just lost more money. Like I didn't stand a chance in that. You know what I mean? So
I think the important caveat there is, well, not caveat, but addition is the game should reward preparedness, and it should also reward being able to think and adapt. And when you die to one bullet, and when you can't run or move or whatever, like there's no rebuttal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the reason why, tournaments have a best of 3, because if you have a really bad first game, like give me another chance kind of thing. You don't just, we go to, do the foot race and your shoe is untied and you trip a little bit. And now it's like, well, I've won the entire race because of this one unfortunate thing where it's like, oh, maybe you should get a redo or, what's it called? A fucking mulligan or something. I just, the more you're able to make it so that you can have a rebuttal to the other person's onslaught, the more skill-based the game becomes, which applies to everything. Like, if you're, hitting easy shots on somebody, they should have the ability to, either get to cover, or if they turn and look at you, your screen shouldn't be so blurry and the aim punch shouldn't be so bad that there's literally nothing you can do.
Yeah.
That person should kill you faster than it should take for you to be able to turn around and shoot them. Otherwise, then it was a bad engagement on their part.
Yeah.
If they're peppering you with low pen SMG bullets from 30 meters or for 50 meters and they can't kill you, they're going to turn around and fucking shoot you with a rifle, and that's going to be, the end for you, because you need to get up close. So really, like, I think the aim punch, like aim punch in that blur, maybe you make it so that SMGs, they don't do as much damage, but they fuck up your vision and everything so much so that, like, close range, it makes more sense that in factory you're going to come across people using P90s or whatever, and they're much harder to deal with because then it makes it so that they're a different type of difficulty than somebody who has a meta HK or a meta FAL, where it's like they're just gonna rip through you like fucking laser beams.
Yeah.
In this case, it's like, the type of boxer who can out stamina you and they're not gonna knock you out because they're smaller, but they're faster. It's like, it's just kind of the essence of like balancing. And again, when I say balancing, I don't mean everything should be perfectly balanced.
Yeah.
But like, it annoys me that people talk about balancing and they don't want balancing, but then at the same time, it's like people get excited about every gun in the world ever being added to the game. It's like, well, then there's only 3 guns that are going to be the best guns, so they can add 8 million more guns, but it's just like, if none of them are viable, what's the point of all this diversity?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's less fun and less cool.
Yeah. I agree.
Anyway, that's my rant on that.
Yep. Speaking of that, they did some nerfs to guns. Some people got their way. I played with Deadly yesterday, and we were talking about this, about how it feels like most of the gun nerfs come from people that 24/7 main HK and feel that their HK is threatened. Like, they nerfed the mutant, and it was like, I don't think the mutant was as OP as the HK is ever, but everybody's like, nerf the mutant, nerf the mutant, nerf the mutant, and I'm just like, it just confuses me. But
see, now somebody asked me earlier if
mutant got nerfed,
if the HK got nerfed. I don't know. I literally just sold. I've had 3 HKs, and I sold all 3 of them because I didn't have the time or the effort or the money to build like a decent HK, so I just sold them. I don't know if they've been nerfed or not, but
so they did. So okay, so they made some changes. They nerfed the mutant specifically a little bit, gave it some more recoil, increased the price, pushed it to skier level 4 as opposed to level 3. But then an interesting thing they did is they nerfed suppressors across the board to make them have much higher hit to your ergo by like, adding an additional -10 or -20 ergo to
Which I
some of
think
these
makes
suppressors.
sense.
And me too.
Because they're fucking heavy. Like I've shot rifles with suppressors on them, and adding a nice chunk of weight. I mean, most of them are heavy. Some of them are there's different materials and stuff, but adding a bunch of mass at the front of a gun like that, it changes the way that it handles.
And it makes sense that it makes the recoil less because it's literally pulling down for you. The heavier an object farther away from you, even though it's the same weight, feels like it's doing more. So I get that, but it should be a heavier gun. It should be harder to manipulate. It should be harder to bring up. The ergo should be. So they nerfed the suppressors. I haven't really noticed, but I'm still in that like use just whatever guns in my inventory type of place in the game. Like I'm not building guns consistently and then running them to like to see a difference, but apparently, and then they even came through, I was impressed by this, they even came through and buffed a few other guns. Like they nerfed that suppressor, the mutant, it's like the 2 compensators and the suppressor. You can put all 3 on, and then that's what makes the mutant the best. Well, doing that same combination was the only way to make the MCX even like okay, not even good, but okay. But then they nerfed the hell out of that suppressor, so they buffed the MCX like a little bit, its base stats. So I was like,
I'm gonna have to use the MCX.
I was like, okay, cool. I was like, that. Thank you for thinking of that. You know what I mean? Because like that's one of those things where it wouldn't have surprised me if the MCX was just collateral damage and it was just like useless because they nerfed the one thing that made it barely viable. You know what I mean? So I was glad that they came back through. They actually nerfed some of the ammo too and some of the base gun stats. So. But that was that's something that's happened with a little bit of changes, and I think it makes sense. I think the suppressor nerf makes sense.
Did they also buff the Val or the VSS? I recall someone mentioning it, but I'm not sure.
I heard in Deadly's chat today, and I've heard a few different times today that they buffed the VSS, but I have no idea how or what. If it was ergo, recoil, ammo, price, I don't know. But it's interesting.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's interesting because here's the deal. I actually kind of felt like the Val was pretty balanced where it was. It was just, it had fallen so far. So the contrast made it feel like the Val sucked, but like the Val for what it is, like a close range, quiet annihilator was like yesterday. If they buffed the Val today, I don't know what they did. Yesterday, the Val was still like the best factory gun in the game. Like it just, that ammo, that rate of fire, and the ability, like it destroys. It destroys.
Dude, I had a fucking 45 round mag of BT, and I was just laying into Tagilla with it, and he just like fucking Neo in the Matrix. Not even Neo, because Neo fucking stops the bullets. Like I can't think of a fucking metaphor. He was just absorbing them.
Yeah.
Like Skittles. Didn't make a dent in him whatsoever. And I'm just going and he's just running and fucking slamming me, and I'm in nothing. And then with the Val, the one time I killed Tagilla, I went, and he was fucking dead. And it was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like,
it's some of that ammo, SPP and BP are so good. So I don't know what they did. I hope that they didn't buff it too much because like it's just. But once again,
I kind of wish the 20 round mags to me made it balanced.
Yeah.
Because it was like you rip people apart.
But you have to hit your shots.
It's equivalent of like a bolt action. It's like a bunch of damage, and then it's like a bunch of damage. Oh, this is like shit ton of damage. Reload. You can't kill a 4-man with a 20 round mag.
Which goes back to, there are guns in this game that are not bad. They are balanced, but as long as guns exist in this game, that you can pretty sufficiently say that this gun is good for every single style of play. The M4s and the HKs, you can still get an M4 to 28 vertical recoil, 5.56 flies fast, and you can build shorty M4s. It is the best close quarters gun. It is the best mid-range gun. It is the best long-range gun. It has high-capacity mags. It has suppressors. So it's like, it's not that their guns need buffs. It's that certain guns should be a choice. It's exactly what we were talking about with the bolties. You should think, what am I going to do this raid? This type of weapon would serve me better for this type of gameplay. And as long as a gun exists that you can say that about that gun, no matter what gameplay, other guns feel bad when they're not. The MCX, the Val, some of the SMGs are annihilators close quarters, but why bring a close quarters only gun when there's a gun that's the best for everything? So it's like, it's just, and so guns like that, like the M4 and the HK that just skate by wipe after wipe after wipe after wipe, and they're just objectively the best for everything. You know, similar to a 308 MDR or an SA58. Now you've got the biggest gun in the game. You still have full auto. You don't have high capacity mags, but you've got like a 308 MDR is very capable close range too. You point fire it. Like it just, it doesn't, it makes everything else around it feel broken when it's the broken thing. You know what I mean? It's not things that need, it's not that things need to be buffed. It's that we need. And once again, and it feels like, I don't want to speak for Nikita, but it feels like that's what he talks about all the time, right? Like preparation, you know, thinking about the operation, thinking about what you want to do in this raid. Like that feels like the game he wants to make. And right now, there's no choice. If you have 100 million rubles and want your survival rate to be as high as it could be, it's Slick, Alton, M4 or HK, 60 round mags. Like it's just, you will accomplish that goal better than with, you know, no matter what map you're going to. So, you know, the whole Voodoo with the J3 Enterprises with the Delta Point on top. You got your close range optic, you got your mid range optic, you got your long range optic, you got your gun that can handle itself in any of those things. Yeah, it's just weird.
I don't know why anybody needs to put the fucking Delta Point or whatever on top of the Voodoo. The 1X is too
I like
good.
it. I prefer it. I haven't used the Voodoo enough this wipe. Last wipe, the Voodoo was like what was the number? I used to call it a 2X. I watched your video. It was like a 1.7X.
It was 1.6, 1.7.
I need a 1X.
Interesting.
I need it. I am like up to 100 meters. I am just objectively have a higher survival rate with a red dot. I've been using a lot of longer range scopes because I'm trying to do Shooter Born in Heaven. I'm trying to do these things. There's something about like my peripheral vision keep way clean, and just this like dot, I find myself so much more accurate. I can snap better. I can transfer from target to target better. That's why I kind of left the Valde behind. But the Voodoo, I could leverage it as a 2X and keep my 1X, and I felt unstoppable. I felt like I could do everything.
Interesting. Yeah, I felt like it was like the difference between a 1X and a 1.6X to me is they're the same.
Yeah.
In 99% of use cases, but I mean, you know, that's just me. But I do have
an
update to the community.
How do we word this?
The loading at the end of raids.
The trace route, 40-second hold.
Yes. I need to make sure to everybody in the community that helped me research this with like logs and looking into everything. Thank you a bunch. It was super helpful for me. And what we were able to deliver to Battle State, they found extremely helpful. And they are working on a fix to come soon, TM. So very nice.
Very nice.
So just keep it coming. Where we were at with the kind of like bug Discord and all that stuff, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But where I'm at right now is we've clearly established, while like we're not community managers and I don't want to be a community manager, we can act as a funnel. Like every Tarkov streamer has their own community, right? And it's not to say that like they shouldn't listen to streamers' opinions over other people.
Correct.
But our value comes from the fact that we have hundreds of thousands of people that all talk to us every day. So we can funnel a lot of that information and see like, oh, wow,
information. Yeah.
A lot of people are experiencing this problem, or a lot of people are experiencing this problem, so that we can basically, you know, if we have 1,000 people that come in a week, talk about something, and then, you know, people like you and me can wrap that up and then deliver it directly to our contacts at BSG, try to provide logs, provide information, and then that is super effective, and I want to continue to do that, whether or not we have like a special Discord or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Battle State still says, then they maintain that you guys and us and everybody in the community should report bugs, because it does, according to them, it does very much help them prioritize, become aware of the widespreadness of certain issues and certain bugs. So there you go. I feel like this was a success.
Yeah.
They said it was very helpful. And I'm hoping that in the next, you know, couple of technical patches, this issue goes away. We'll see.
Which would be very nice.
Yep. And then also another thing people keep talking about too is, and I need to like properly test it, because I've just been testing it uncontrolled, and so far it's made literally no fucking difference. But everybody keeps talking about, everybody's asking what issue. Maybe I didn't make it super clear when I said it before. So when at the end of a raid, after you heal and everything, and you hit next, how
like 50% of the community.
Yeah. Basically how every single, like half of the community would sit there at a screen with a spinner.
Yeah.
For anywhere from 45 seconds to a couple of minutes. Not everybody experienced it, but again, they said that based on the information we gave them, and everything, that was it was in fact an issue that was experienced frequently, and the information that I gave them with the help of the community discussions and everything was extremely helpful, and they're working on a fix.
Yeah.
So sorry if I didn't make that super clear. Yeah, I mean, that right there that'll give me back like 2 hours a fucking day of my life staring at a spinner.
Yeah.
Not to mention 10,000 other people all staring at spinners all day long. I mean,
yeah.
Anyway, okay, so the other thing that people mentioned is the whole switch your background in like your client to not labs, like the Big Brother camera. Switch it over to factory, and it'll get rid of like all of your lag and all of the shit in the menus. I still have it, and I've changed it to factory, and the menus still take 4.5 fucking years. So I don't think, I don't know, it seems like an urban legend. I got to do some testing, but people keep talking like it was the silver bullet that fucking solved all their problems.
Mm-hmm.
But
I hadn't heard that.
But it hasn't done shit for me. Maybe it'll fix it for you. Maybe
I should try it just to throw another sample in there. But I can see that fixing, like, there's a universe where like the factory one was made so long ago because the game's been out for forever, and maybe the Big Brother one's new and they use like higher quality assets, and on certain older computers it just frees up a few extra resources, and that might a few people make it feel snappier. You know what I mean?
You think that selecting level 2 therapist from level 1,
I mean, yeah, that's
18
true.
seconds, like, is the background even relevant
Bro,
there? Like,
no,
is it even?
It's not. Dude, you can tell when the servers are having trouble. Like if you go to collect something from your hideout, man, That's how you know. That's instantly how you know. You collect, you crafted 8 wires, you hit collect. If it's a good day, it goes brrrp, and you see 8. And if it's a bad day, it goes tick, tick. You can hear them coming in. Tick. And you're like, all right, this is going to be a day. And you're just waiting.
Dude, I was just on my stash, and I hit escape to go back to the whole like escape character trading hideout. And you were saying like tick, 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 and then the menu came up, and it's the light bulb for the fucking factory thing that we've always had. I don't think it does anything.
I want a click counter because like dude, if I'm frustrated, you like, because we can whip through the menus so fast because we've been doing this for so long. Escape.
We used to be able to.
Yeah, escape, traders, mechanic, and then you go to click sell, and oh man, and I'm like click, 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 click. Like I'm just like I want like a click counter to see how many meaningless clicks. I just do it. I know it doesn't make it faster. I'm just mad at the game, so I click a million times.
Yep.
But that's cool. I think the takeaway there is to really highlight that where it's like if anything is going to come of it, i.e. a Discord, a thing, any sort of relationship with BSG, that's going to be down the road. It's going to be a long time coming. But like if the real takeaways here are that exactly what you're saying, we're not trying to represent streamers' opinions on issues. You know what I mean? We're trying to be a avenue to collect information about bugs and then just present that information to Battlestate Games. So once again, like when we were talking about this stuff, like when we were theory crafting a Discord, we were talking emotionless, right? We're not here to say this thing should function this way, but how we want to help is just to be able to say, he's got a few thousand people that stop into his streams throughout the stream. I've got a few thousand people that stop. We've been able to collect this data and say, this is what is happening. Here you go. You know what I mean? So
it just only now occurred to me that what we're effectively saying is come complain about more shit to us.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Oh, no, dude.
Well,
okay, no.
I'll just start the podcast here. Let's just...
Hey, everybody, welcome to the podcast. Don't complain. No, so basically, the takeaway should be that
emotionless. That's what we said.
It's not even emotion. It's just that like when someone comes in and is like, I'm experiencing this problem, that's fine. If 1,100 people come in and all tell me about the different problems that they're having with the game, my stream becomes instantly less fun than it already isn't when I'm not having a good time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe just like keep in mind that at some point too, I mean, that's the other hard part is that like at some point there's diminishing returns. Like if people still are sending me logs for the spinner, like at this point it's like the train already left the station. Like you're not helping anymore. Yeah. Once we get like a critical mass on an issue, we wrap it up and we chuck it, and I never want to fucking hear about it or see it again. You know what I mean? Until it gets fixed, unless it goes a long time without ever being fixed and it's still an issue, right? But like that should buy us, but then we don't have the ability to communicate. Everybody's going to come in and say, hey, have we got an update on this? And hey, have we got an update? Yeah. And it's going to suck, but what we're basically doing is we're doing like 30% of a community manager's job unpaid. But we're doing it for the community. Yeah. We're just not always going to I'm not always going to have a fucking solution to your problem, and I'm not always going to be able to promise that it's going to be high priority or that they fucking care or that they'll fix it or
and we don't even
whatever.
know.
I don't speak for them. Sometimes they fix things and they don't tell me. Sometimes they will tell me. Sometimes they won't tell me. Sometimes sometimes they'll tell me and say, please don't share this. So there's nothing I can do. I'm not a representative for the company.
For sure.
I'm just our value as community, heads of our own communities is that we can try to be a voice for you guys. Just know that we don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of people with megaphones, because then we're not going to want to be your voice anymore.
Yes.
I think I did all of that without taking a fucking single breath.
All right, moving on. Let's talk a little bit about some stuff that's been going on in the Tarkov land. We've had 2 different events since the last podcast. In-game events, very reminiscent of some of the events that happened towards the end of the wipe, which I think is really cool. We had the event where you got really hot and dehydrated, and you need to drink water a lot more frequently. And then we have the current event, which is that the value of keys to traders are significantly lower, and therefore the tax to list them on the flea market for obscene prices is significantly higher. Neither of those have had a great impact on my gameplay, but I know that they had an impact on some people's gameplay, like the water thing. The metabolism skill is in an interesting spot. I have spent 0% of my time actively trying to like farm metabolism, and I'm at level 35. So I just didn't.
I wonder what I'm at.
You're probably higher than me, or right there.
I'm 30.
Yeah. So I didn't struggle with that. You know what I mean? And so like there was a little bit of like, not miscommunication. There was a little bit of interesting stuff. Nice Guy did a video when he was talking about the event, and at the end he summed up exactly what I was thinking about the event, because the criticism of the event was like, unfortunately, like rip casuals again. It was like, well, I just bought the game and I'm level 1 and now I can't, I'm dying all the time because I'm not doing this. And it's like, and like the reality there is like, there's always going to be new players, and there's always going to be players that just hopped in the wipe, and there's always going to be players that don't have a lot of time to play. BSG can't never test anything ever again, Lamau, just because somewhere out there is a level 2 that didn't know the event was happening. Like, they are, this is what we've been begging them for years now, which is like change and manipulate the market on the fly. It's a beta, test things, gather the information, and that's what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like they were testing a bunch of stuff, like the value of water went up. It shifted the way that your gameplay, like on Woods, if you were going to be in a long raid, like part of your pathing now had to be, let's go check for water, or let's bring something. You know what I mean? So like there was a lot there to test.
What changed for me is that I used to I would pass up every food item except for one every 3 hours.
Yeah.
And then now I
would just get them.
I just consumed the items.
Yeah.
Then that was it. So honestly, I did not know about both events. I didn't even realize. And now I admit that the hydration one was a little bit more significant, but like, I honestly didn't realize it was going on. It was not that significant. And I'm totally fine with it. And the flea market, like people are like, oh, it adversely affected new players or players under level 20.
Yeah,
there's you go any fucking building or bag anywhere,
yeah,
and there's 27 food items. I mean, sometimes it can be tough to find stuff, but that's usually because you were neglecting it, like you were procrastinating.
Exactly.
So you put yourself in a position where like, oh fuck.
Exactly. I've been in that spot where it's like I'm dehydrated and I can't find food and I'm frustrated, but that was more because I didn't realize I was close to dehydration until I was dehydrated. Whereas if that was 70 hydration, I would have been like, I should start looking for water. I would have been fine.
Yeah, if that was the way that the game was going forward, then everybody would just be more in the habit of stop at this building and look for food items every couple of minutes, and it'd be a little bit more annoying, but I mean, I never buy food items on the flea market, so like the flea market was irrelevant. I ignore 90% of the fucking food items now, and right now in Tarkov is the most important and relevant food and water has ever been.
Yeah,
you go back the last 3 years, and
dude.
It's only been the last couple of months, that food and water has been fucking relevant.
Yeah, I don't think I drank anything in Tarkov for my first 2 wipes. There was no need. Ever.
No, there was no need.
Every time you died, it would insta go to 100, and if you got shot 300 times and played the raid until the last 30 seconds, you'd still have 75 hydration. Like,
it was only an issue back in the day before the CMS kits, and you get your stomach blacked in the first 2 seconds by a Taz shotgun, and it's like now you have a ticker where it's like I got 7 minutes until I'm going to be taking constant pain from dehydration because you couldn't fix your stomach.
Yeah.
Now the fact that you can fix your stomach means that the longer your stomach is black, that's how many more pit stops you need to take. How many gas station stops do you need to take on your fucking trip?
Yeah.
Now, a couple of people have mentioned something that I saw, and this was actually something that Pestily had tweeted, and I think it's kind of a misunderstanding. It's not like wrong, but it's also, I think, potentially misleading. And it's the idea that metabolism doesn't affect hydration. And so I think he tweeted something along the lines of, like, all these people flexing their elite metabolism.
Oh, yeah.
When they don't realize that it doesn't do anything with hydration. And that might be true. I actually don't know the specifics about the skills, but my understanding is that it doesn't affect hydration, but what it does affect is if you're completely dehydrated, you don't take damage.
Correct.
It's
correct.
It's not insignificant. That's literally it doesn't help your hydration, but what it does is it makes hydration mostly useless. Now, stamina.
That's the only thing.
That's the only thing, is that if you have max level metabolism and you're completely dehydrated, you still are going to be penalized to your your stamina, but like it's not going to be a health concern. It negates all
the wiki, the elite level, 0 chance of dehydration and exhaustion effects. I mean, that's literally what it is. Yeah, it's 100%. It's like, yes, you get dehydrated, but all that is functionally is a dot in the top left corner of your screen. Like, it's just like, oh, I'm dehydrated, but you don't take damage. It's just when you get exhausted, you stop regenerating stamina. You're not going to take damage, but you stop regenerating stamina, which is why basically if you have elite metabolism, you just need to care about food. Just munching on a little something means your stamina is going to regen. But it's
like the equivalent of like a broken leg, where it's like something that you have to take care of at some point, but it's not life threatening. If you have a painkiller and you have a broken leg that still has like HP or whatever, like it's just an inconvenience until you can have the time to heal it. In this case, it just makes it so that like your stamina might suck a little bit until you're able to find the milk. Not if I don't find the milk, I die. So
dude, I died to exhaustion or dehydration the other day, bro. I was running to extract on interchange. A player scav jumped out. Everything was blacked except for my thorax. So my head was blacked. I healed up. I'd taken a bunch of painkillers, so my energy was low. I was 7 feet from the railway extract, and I saw a player scav running at me. So I was like, ooh. And I'm like waiting. I'm like, did he see me? Because if not, I'm too hurt to take a fight. I'm going to let him. And I just fell over dead. And I was like, no!
Imagine being that guy and you're running and you see out of your peripheral like someone aiming down sights and you're like, oh shit, and then they just fall dead. Like,
dude, no, this is what's crazy. That dude got
angels in the outfield. Like they just fucking.
That dude got out. I'm in the next raid, and 20 minutes later, somebody comes in and goes, "Are you I Am Pizza Man?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I'm a player scav on interchange. I just found your body." And I was like, "Oh frick! Oh, I hate you so much."
Were you the one with the cigarette in his mouth and the red jacket? Yeah, that was me. I saw you fucking croak right in front of my eyes.
He just found my body and took all my stuff. I was like, "Hey man, enjoy."
Oof.
But yeah,
one of my immersion videos with the scav, I'm breaking the illusion here because I left it as a kind of a cliffhanger. But for everybody that's here and listening to this, I'll tell you what actually happened. The raid where I was it was one of my scav immersion runs on woods, and like I'm slowly dying. I'm like dehydrated. I literally like limped from like the fucking sniper rock all the way to outskirts, like limped across like 3/4 of the fucking map and I had like 3 painkillers. At the last minute I found like a car med kit, and literally I'm like running, and then like I run out of painkillers, so I'm limping for like the last fucking 100 meters. And oh, you know what it was? It wasn't. Now that I think about it, I didn't die from energy. It was the timer. It literally ticked down, the raid timer. It ticked down, and I faded out as the raid timer was. And I'm sure some people were like, oh, that must have just been like the exfil countdown. Yep. But I literally died like 1 second before I was going to exfil because I didn't make it in time.
That's. Yeah. I saw a clip. Somebody sent me a clip. They were in reserve. The alarm, the hermetic door. And the extraction timer had 0.2 seconds left and the alarm shut off. And I was like, Oh,
I'm always scared. I've only taken that extract like 5 or 6 times, and every time I'm like looking at the timer,
holding your breath. That one is rough.
Yeah.
That one is rough. We've got a few other stuff. I didn't know about any of this, but Nikita was on a Russian community podcast like a week ago, and then today, him and Clean and Lucas from T-Rex Arms did a podcast like 6 hours ago. I didn't even know.
Yeah, I heard that as well.
Nice guy to the rescue though, with all the videos, the recaps and everything. But so there's a bunch of stuff that we can just kind of like blitz through. We can talk about any of this. Some of the stuff I kind of want to. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some of this stuff will sit on for a while. Okay. A few things. Lighthouse is most likely going to be delayed and will not come out this year.
Which is even.
Yeah. Pain.
Didn't
suffering.
Wasn't that like literally the
Shut
opposite? Like, no, you were saying like, I think that there's a chance we'll get
Streets.
And that was assuming that we also got Lighthouse, and now we're not getting either.
That was the last glass half full statement you'll hear me ever make about Escape from Tarkov.
Welcome to the grouchy, graybeard, cynical club. Now,
every day.
Now, there's nothing that will ever be like puppies are pain, and anger is happiness. And welcome to.
All right. So before chat gets out of control, it hasn't been confirmed. So once again, we have to take all this with like not grains of salt, but giant boulders of salt, because it was in a Russian podcast translated to English. And then we're just kind of like, I watched a video. I mean, I respect Nice Guy a lot, and I know he does really good, but it's just like, you know what I mean? So everything gets taken with a grain of salt. But when asked about Lighthouse, Nikita, the way Nice Guy put it was that Nikita seemed much more hesitant, that they still would like to get us Lighthouse this year, but he's not sure. And so I can like with some level of certainty assume what that means, because last year in 2020, it was we're definitely getting Streets this year. And then in 2021, it was we're definitely getting Streets this year. And then in summer 2021, it was we're definitely getting part of Streets this year. And then in the late summer, it was we're not going to get Streets, but we're definitely going to get Lighthouse. So hearing him say that he's a little concerned about if he's going to be able to push out Lighthouse is just, I mean, I'm well in the we're not going to get Lighthouse. Like, you know what I mean?
And you know what? I don't care.
I care so much.
I mean, think about like, I know there are some people that are like, no, and all angry. And I bet you some percentage of those people are also the same people that would be like, they need to stop adding content and fix the insert 17 things here.
Yeah.
So like,
I care a lot.
There's a universe in which in the next year, they do a bunch of good shit.
Yeah.
That helps the game and the performance and the design and everything. Now, if we don't get new maps and we don't get optimization and bug fixes, well, then fuck me. Then I'll get my pitchforks right along with everybody else, right?
Here's why I care.
But like, I just don't fucking,
Here's why I care. 2 reasons. One, it's the same thing when people come and say, okay, hold on. Before I fundamentally agree with you. If I got to choose between 2 universes, which is 1 year from today, the game performs exactly the same. We have all of Streets and all of Lighthouse, versus 1 year from now, the Steam audio integration is perfect, the network is perfect, but we don't have a single new gun or new map. I pick that 100 out of 100 times. Like, I'm totally with you there. But the reason why I care that they're delaying this stuff is because, one, it's like when people come into chat and say, why are they adding new guns? Fix the cheaters. And it's like, my man is over here. His job was to come model guns. He's modeling guns. He's doing his job. So I just wonder how many of the map designers would be working on, like, they're map designers. Like, aren't they going to map design? Like, aren't they going to be artists? Like, if they don't have any sort of touch to these optimizations that need to come to the game, then I want those guys to deliver those things. The second reason why I care is expectations. It is, we are definitely going to give you this thing. We might not be able to give you this thing. We'll give you this instead. We might not be able to. Like, that's what hurts me and frustrates me. It's like, if you set the expectation that these things are more important development-wise than these things, I can be with you. But it's not a good look to constantly say you're going to do something and not do it. And what you're saying you're going to do isn't even the things that the game really needs. So that's why I care. That's why I get frustrated.
I would need like someone to edit together a supercut just so that I could reference, because I have a bad memory, enough of a bad memory that I don't know what they said. It's possible that Nikita caveated it every single time with "I'm not sure" and "I don't know, but we're going to try." And if that's the case, then it's way more reasonable. If he said 100% we're going to do it, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah. I think it's important to, I don't know, right? Because I just don't remember what he said and how he worded it. But one of the things is that I want to try to avoid like the double standard. One of the things that we wanted was we wanted them to be more transparent. Yeah. So if they think okay.
Oh yeah, I totally rather him tell us. Yeah.
So if he thought it was going to happen at the time with the information that they had, and with at the information and whatever that they either have or don't have at the time, if the best guess is that like I think we're going to be able to make it for this year, I don't think it's not that I don't feel like it's fair.
I totally get what you're saying though.
But like.
It's like we can't demand
we want you to be more open with us.
Yeah.
And then if you ever have to have any amount of flexibility, then we're going to hammer you to the fucking cross.
I totally get that.
Also, you're really walking on eggshells. Sure. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's hard.
And that's very nuanced, right? Because that depends on like exactly like you were saying, how are they presenting this information? If they're presenting it as like, dude, this is in the bag. Like we got this. It's 100% coming this year. And then that doesn't happen. And then that doesn't happen like 3 or 4 more times. Then you could, I feel like at that point I can say, well, you guys have some responsibility to stop over promising. You know what I mean? But if it's presented a different way, like you're saying, if it's presented as like, hey, we are going to try to get Lighthouse out this year for you guys, and then they can't, it's like we can't be forcing them into like giving us information and then holding them to it too tightly. To the best of my memory, it was like we are gonna get Lighthouse out this year. And that was because they weren't able to deliver on the promise of we are gonna get Streets this year. So I don't know.
And this is maybe me being probably overly optimistic, but maybe everything that I've been saying and that other content creators like you and other people that have been saying about all of the serious issues, maybe so there's 2 parts here. Maybe they're actually like realizing the priority shift.
Yeah, maybe for sure.
And then there's also, so the other part of this is that, and this is kind of like a slippery slope, but it's getting a little bit more into the details of how like software teams work.
Yeah,
people have different specialties, and the same people who do X aren't the same people who do Y.
Yeah,
but this is all theoretical because I literally don't know any of the developers. I don't know any of their skill sets. But like when I worked in the robotics industry, we had a mobile team, and there was basically like 7 or 8 Android guys and like 5, 6, 7 iOS guys. I was an iOS guy that had a very specific like proficiency and expertise with communications with the robot over Bluetooth, communications with the cloud, all of the different provisioning and getting stuff set up on Wi-Fi networks and whatever, all these different processes on iOS. But if like there were times where I'd be fixing a bug for Android on something I've never seen before, and that just means that like I'm probably going to be a little bit slower to find what file the thing is in, but engineers are engineers and they can work on different things. Now, when you add a new gun, it's not just dragging and dropping a JPEG that you photoshopped.
Of course.
There are actually like, there is programming aspects, and then there's visuals, then there's animations, then there's actually programming. So there's different elements. I'm saying all of this because I don't know if they hired a bunch of map designers and they've shifted it I don't know if that means they have other priorities.
For sure.
And all of those, maybe all of those map designers are now being trained for netcode. Who the fuck knows? I don't know.
Which I
have
be
no idea.
All about. I just
think it's, unless we get more information, and maybe this is in the idiosyncrasies of the translation, and maybe if we were to watch it with subtitles or something, and like it was a good translation, and we could tell some of the nuance, I'd want to know why. Like, what's the reasoning for pushing it back?
And
it could be that performance issues or other technical issues are making it so that it's harder to add these new maps. Okay, well then it might not be that it's the maps that are slowing them down, and they wouldn't have foreseen it. Like, we can release the maps, they're just going to run like shit until we fix these other problems. Like, okay, so maybe they're still going to work on it, but they just won't be ready and optimized to the point where they'd feel happy about shipping it until some, netcode or performance issues are worked out. Maybe the maps will be finished in November, but again, they won't be shippable until they fix like a memory leak and a netcode thing. It's entirely possible that that's the case.
For sure.
So I want to be careful about.
And that's the thing,
is that can't be outraged because we don't know.
I'm not. Well, that's the thing. I'm not in any way outraged. I'm just sad. Like, that's the thing. I care. It hurts because I think the maps are like some of the most important things. Like, a map is worth 1,000 guns. You know what I mean? Like, people, a lot of these, in the past, a lot of the content patches that like people were really excited for, like, fade away really quickly. And it was like, oh man, yeah, like there wasn't really anything here. It was like a new scav boss, which is cool, and a few new guns, but like nothing really that fundamentally changes my content loop. You know what I mean? I think a map is worth a lot in buying time on, like, people just like immerse themselves in that map. You know what I mean? Reserve was a big deal. Labs was a big deal for the game. You know what I mean? A new map is worth a lot. So that's just exciting. And then, like, I think I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, me being frustrated that they might have to, which is still a might, by the way. He didn't say they were. He said they might have to push back Lighthouse. My frustration is not because I know how to do what they do better than they do it. It's more of just like the, like, fresh, like, I just wish I knew exactly. I wish I knew why they were pushing it back. I wish I knew at some point, don't you feel like we should start baking in like some flex time? You know what I mean? Like, Streets.
That's the thing. Streets is that they always do.
Streets has been this year for 3 years. At what point do you say, well, we're not going to give a date till Streets until it's like until the date's tomorrow? We're going to stop giving a date for Streets.
Well,
after 3 years.
That's the thing. But that's the thing, is that 3 years out, you have no fucking idea, right? Like, you're building a house and all you've done is dug a hole. Mm-hmm. The closer you get, the more fine-grained your targeting gets. And there's some point, think about it, at some point you have to say, it's going to be this date. And then at some point in the future, you really do the calculus and your mind changes.
Yeah.
No matter where that is, everybody's going to wish you did it sooner.
Yeah.
So then if you get shit from it when you finally come out and say it, and everybody says it should have been sooner, no matter what, all that motivates you to do is just say, fine, then I'm never fucking telling you ever again.
But then what do you think about stuff like, if we don't get Lighthouse until next year, right? When do you think Streets is going to be? So then how do I reconcile, like, them taking the initiative to go to E3 and, like, promote this map? Like, I just get confused. Like, no community member asked them to go to E3 and do a Streets trailer.
Well, no, but that's also an opportunity. That's an opportunity that, like, I'm not saying I know how to do it better. I'm just saying I'm confused. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know how to rationalize it all. Here's the thing. What you have, and the way you need to think about it, is you have one guy that is multiple layers above a team, right? And they're all working on individual pieces of a big, massive, moving, shifting, fucking transformer machine that's constantly changing. And then there's internal forces, external forces, bugs, all of the stuff you're working on in between now and then that could break and push things back. Mm-hmm. Clearly, they're running into issues with performance, and we've been saying for the last couple of weeks how it feels like everything is taking a step back.
Yeah.
So honestly, like they might not fix any of the things that we've been complaining about. But if I think about in the grand scheme of things, with all of the stuff that's been going on, those maps are the least interesting and the least important. And in my opinion, if I were to look at, let's say there's come January, it wipes. Let's say we're going to play for 6 months.
Yeah.
That 6-month period, if the movement is smoothed out and if the performance is better and there's a bunch of UX improvements and whatever, that 6 months is going to be a great 6 months with the same maps and guns we have right now.
For sure.
Whereas if they added a new map and we had all the same UX issues and loading times and bullshit and freezes and stutters, the new map would be cool and novel for a week and a half until it wore off. And then we'd be back to bitching for 5 months about we need more content.
Yeah.
Which is, again, people don't realize that it's like, if the game worked perfectly, you could have this game work perfectly and have it be just Shoreline, and you could play it infinitely if it was designed right. So it's not. Yeah, as long as we're trading, we're getting something for the delay, and it's not just a delay with nothing else.
And then that's the thing, though, is like that's the flip side. Is like we keep getting told we're going to get content that doesn't matter. Like doesn't matter what I mean in the grand scheme of things. Like you were just saying, like these things matter more. But then a lot of times we can't even get them to acknowledge that these issues exist, the ones that do matter, let alone a time frame. You know what I mean? Like there's never been like we think we understand what's wrong with the netcode, and we think this should be fixed in the next 6 months. You know what I mean? Like we can't even get them to acknowledge that there's a problem with the netcode. Like
yeah, I mean
I'm
definitely like, I feel like I'm defending something that I've been on the other side of for the last 6 months. Like all of a sudden now I'm set. But I guess I'm trying to play devil's advocate in that transparency is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So we just need to think about whenever Battlestate says anything, how much we shit on them, and then in the next breath say we want you to tell us more.
For sure. No, I get it.
It's basically like giving Leather Daddy a paddle and saying, "Don't spank me, Leather Daddy. It hurts."
I get what you're saying,
I don't want to explain the visual I just had with
Leather Daddy
and Nikita.
I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree, and I'm not. I don't know, and I feel like I'm on the opposite of what I've been thinking too. Like I've been advocating for the transparency doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be like everything. They don't have to tell us exactly every single thing. What are you doing?
I just got a fan here. I gotta cool off.
Oh, okay. Too much thinking about Leather Daddy.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm talking myself in circles. I don't have like I'm not frustrated at them. I want, like you said, I would rather have the netcode and the audio and the movement and the visuals fixed than new maps. But I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that I'm not sad because I really wanted a new map. You know what I mean? So
apparently Leather Daddy is already a name in use. Fuck. Leather Daddy Nick.
Oh, on Twitch? Or I mean on Tarkov?
On Tarkov.
Leather Daddy. Shout out to Leather Daddy wherever you are.
Leather Nikita. No. Damn it, Leather Daddy's already taken. I wonder if it was one of you guys. Anyway.
Leather Daddy. All right, so let's just move on. Lighthouse is TBD. It's not officially delayed by any means. Please once again hear it. There's a little bit of skepticism. He said that they don't even have screenshots yet, that the final renders of what the scav bosses are going to look like aren't done yet either, but that maybe he said there might be something for you next week though. So that kind of alluded to like they did the Russian community podcast. They might be doing an English community podcast. You know what I mean? And he might try and like snap some pics of the development or something like that of that. Let's move on to some of the juicy stuff though that we can actually talk about. There's positive. He said that they have written up somewhere between 60 and 80 of these small events, like the water and the keys, like to test out different market things, to test out different things for players and moving people around and doing stuff. So that's interesting. I don't know if that means we're going to get all of those or.
Okay. Oh, got it. I'm thinking about just now it's every day is going to change too. What are your thoughts on the current insert event here? It's like
1,000,000%. You should look into your camera and be like, the current event that's going on in Escape from Tarkov feels pretty good. I'm excited.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's exclamation point event, and your mods can just like.
You know what I think about the current event in Tarkov, which I think that it's great and it's interactive, and I really love that it is in the game. I can't wait for another event. Just
dude, clip that, and then just every time somebody asks you, exclamation point event.
So what now it's exclamation point event, LOL, but seriously, what do you think?
So more events. Apparently in the podcast today, Inertia and the Scars, but more importantly, Inertia were like confirmed for 12.12. Like Nikita was talking about how they're gonna be ready for that. So because Inertia was kind of in this like weird spot where the last time we talked about it, he's like, we hope to get it in 12.12. You know what I mean? So I don't think we have a time frame for 12.12. To be honest with you, it wouldn't surprise me if it's November at this point. But the next big patch should include Inertia, which is exciting. They talked about VoIP. So he talked about VoIP on the community podcast, and this is one of those things where I would encourage you, Veritas, and all the listeners to like watch like Nice Guy's video or something, because there was a lot of information, but as I understand it, he confirmed that the first iteration of VoIP will be proximity, and that if it's overly abused or like way too bad, that they are willing to explore rolling it back to like an equipment based thing, right?
Okay, well that's a better.
Yes.
That's better than where we were at last time,
exactly.
Which made me sound like they were going. That wasn't a roll back; it was a roll forward.
Exactly.
Eventually.
So as I understand it, he said like it's going to be proximity, and that they are looking into and in really detail an ability to like report players that are abusing it, and like banning players that are abusing it, or removing the ability to turn off and on VoIP. I don't know. They're working on making it not, so it's not so bad, and so that there's like, repercussions for your actions, but it's gonna start proximity, and then if they just like can't get a handle on it, they'll explore rolling it back to something that's more equipment based. So I don't know if that means that it'll be proximity and then supplemented with equipment base, because we've talked about that. I think it would be cool to have that ability to separate from my teammate and like talk over radios, or meet up with somebody in
Discord,
game,
but with a fucking filter.
Exactly. Or meet up with somebody in game and you guys both turn your channels to this, you know what I mean? And then go and, you go East Wing, I'll go West Wing, and we'll meet in the middle in admin or something like that.
But as long as someone is tuned into that channel, they can overhear you and either communicate with, that would also be, also be cool.
Exactly. Because then there's a gameplay loop of like scanning channels and seeing if you can catch anything. So I like the supplementing proximity chat with equipment in game. So I don't know anything about that, but he said it's going to start being proximity, and then they're gonna roll it back. I'm very excited about that. I'm not even going to look at chat because I know that there's going to be some.
Dude, it's so bad, dude.
I can't look at it. I looked at it. I read the word VoIP and I looked away because
my response to this now, and I'm fine. I'm accepting that, people's takeaway from this isn't going to be the words that I say, but their takeaway is just going to be that I'm a dickhead. But if you are complaining or saying anything negative about VoIP, or you think VoIP is going to be a problem in any way, my response to you, my official response, because you are the 9 billionth person that I've had, like, you're not coming up with anything novel and anything new. You haven't thought about it for more than 4 seconds, and if you have thought about it for more than 4 seconds, then you need to work on, your critical thinking. Skills, especially given that there's a mute button and that
you can turn it
it's
off.
apparently going to be defaulted to off, which means that people who don't know about it or who don't want it won't have to do a fucking thing. Anybody who still complains about it, you're literally wasting your time of typing it in fucking chat, and you're wasting everybody else's time who has to read your message, which is even more egregious. But the flip side of the things that you think are going to be a problem that aren't going to be a fucking problem is that there's so much opportunity to have this game be completely and utterly flipped on its head, and for immersion to go up 100 times.
Yep.
For there's 100 cases where that'll happen for every 2 cases that the alternative will happen. And if you don't believe me, I don't care.
Yeah. You're
gonna have to just wait and then come up with clips or whatever to prove me wrong.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. I was like, if you're so hell-bent on it's gonna be bad, let me tell you something. There are other games with VoIP, and there are people streaming those games on Twitch right now. Just do an iota of research, hop in there, and tell me how many N-words you hear in the first 5 minutes. You know what I mean? It's like, just go do some research, go watch another game, get out of Tarkov, go watch a game with VoIP, and tell me
what you need to do.
Tell me how many. I want to know. I want to know how many
and watch
boom boxes you hear.
and think about it. There's a spectrum, and what you have to do is you have to look at. You have Call of Duty, and then moving along the spectrum, you have Rust.
Yeah.
And then you have like different types of there's RP servers versus public servers, and Rust even that changes it. And then you have DayZ, and then you have, let's say, Arma.
Yeah, or Squad.
The VoIP is drastically different between all of those things. And the thing is that Tarkov is all the way over closer to Arma and further than DayZ.
Yeah.
And DayZ doesn't have does not have a problem. It's only ever, but like it's overwhelmingly positive in a game like DayZ, and Tarkov is more like those other games further along the spectrum. So if you think that Tarkov is going to be more like Call of Duty and more like meme Rust servers and less like DayZ and Arma, you might be right, but you have a fundamentally different idea of the type of game this game is.
I would venture a guess you think that because you're prepared and excited to be the one dropping the N-bombs like a dick. I think most of the people,
your friends will do it.
I think most of the people are hell-bent on VoIP being bad. It's because they're going to make it bad. I really do. I think I talked about this before. I made this call, this is like JesseKazam's hot take. I made this and I'll stick to this one. I believe that VoIP will be bad for the first 2 weeks because it'll be new and people love to just make Battlestate games feel like crap for adding new things to the game.
And make me be wrong. They'll follow me and stream snipe me just for that.
Because people want to be right. So I really honestly believe that a lot of people that have held the opinion that VoIP will be bad for the game will try to make it bad for the game because being right. And I think that what I want to communicate to Battlestate games is just hold on for a month or two, because I think people will get bored. You know what I mean? It's a change. The difference is Squad always had VoIP. DayZ always had VoIP. The change attracts, trolls, and it attracts the worst of us. Give us ways to turn it off, which we already know is going to be, and give us ways to, report people who are abusing it, and then just hold on, because I really, really think after a few weeks or a month, the idiots will get bored, and then it'll really shrink down to that 0.1%, and so many of the interactions will be great. That's what I believe.
I totally agree, and I have no idea how they plan on moderating this. That's up to them to figure out. But if they had the ability, given a clip, to figure out what player, maybe they could look at logs, the back end stuff, and then look at a clip.
Yeah.
And figure out oh, okay, I can tell based on the data that the person who screamed the N-word was this person. And as long as they, if they had some way of moderating it, then what's going to happen is 1 out of every 20 interactions is going to be someone being F you, Veritas, you're a insert racist thing here. And then all it's going to take is, if you want to do that, I got a direct line to Nikita.
Yeah.
If he can fucking ban you or whatever, then the next week is going to be a 1 in 40. The next week is a 1 in 80.
Yeah.
The next week is a 1 in 1,000, to the point where
That's
it's not
exactly
like PUBG where
yeah.
people never get banned.
Or if it's a free game or something. That's exactly what I want. I want just enough EOD guys to get their accounts permabanned to, you know what I mean? Because then that stuff's going to stop real quick.
Yes, and
they're gonna
people keep talking about TOS. If you're a streamer and someone runs up and yells the N-word, you are not going to get banned.
Nope.
I've talked to Twitch staff. You need to do something to mitigate the problem, whether or not it's mute it or report it or get away from it, but you are not responsible for
exactly what that. Twitch is looking for is how you reacted to that. If I immediately mute VoIP, shoot that guy in the face and run away and be like, chat, we do not stand for that type of stuff here. If anybody reported me for hearing offensive, Twitch watches that clip and they go, that streamer did everything that they could have done. You know what I mean? And then I'll leave VoIP off for the next few hours. You know what I mean?
If Jesse gets banned for that, I will start a GoFundMe and raise $1 million to have a lawyer fucking sue. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
Because it is not the way. It's just not going to be a thing.
Yeah. It's once again, because if that was the way it worked, all of the giant streamers that play other games with VoIP would be banned already. Like, I don't like, you don't have to believe me. Just think for 3 seconds. You think XQC or any of these guys that play games with VoIP wouldn't be instantly perma-banned if the TOS of Twitch was that, if those words even exist?
Imagine,
like, oh my God.
Imagine you hate a streamer and all you have to do is get in the game with them with VoIP and yell and just hit the button and yell the N-word, and it's like, yes, I just got someone with 300,000 followers, 4 million followers banned
permanently.
Yeah, so I mean,
you got to watch the Olympics to get. No, I'm just kidding. Did you hear about that?
Yeah. I mean, like so I'm excited.
So yeah, moral of the story, it's exciting because it's going to be proximity. That Nikita confirmed that today with Clean. That's exciting.
And what it's gonna do, open up 1 million more opportunities for scav karma and helping people with quests and teaming up and dynamic things and role playing. And also, even if you're not role playing, even if you're like, hey shithead, I'm gonna kill you. It's still like that is no more unimmersive than sticky needles, hold your fire, hold your fire. What the hell is wrong with you? What the hell?
Like a butter.
Yeah. In fact, that would make engagements potentially even more. You're shit talking. It's going to be even more intense. Just like that clip I had in one of the Getting Tarkov, like I think it was the realism video, where there's a dude like in the woods of Afghanistan, and he's like, "Fuck you!" like screaming to like the Taliban who are like 50 feet away, shooting at them.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you." Like, that's sick. Like, I don't care. Just because, we're not gonna get chased around by squeakers spamming music.
Yeah.
And when I say that we're not going to, I mean, it's going to happen and it's going to be funny 1 out of every 100 times, and it's just going to make it easier for me to shoot you.
Yeah.
And then the music is gone. And as long as when you die, you can't, I don't want like VoIP after you die. I don't want your corpse to be talking. Then there's no problem.
Yeah. And that's actually the thing, is that I don't know how they're going to do it, but as long as the VoIP cuts the actual second the PMC dies, that's almost better, because some of the most toxic stuff comes after some dude beats you and thinks that, you know what I mean? Like, as long as that's the cutoff, I think that prevents a lot of the toxicity, because because you're fighting at that point, and then when the winner doesn't get to talk any crap to the guy that died, and the guy that died doesn't get to talk any crap to the guy that won. It's just, as long as it's over right then and there, I'm so game for that. You know what I mean?
Oh, wait. I was thinking about one particular thing. So I was thinking about that from the perspective of the survivor. I don't know which one you were talking about, but I was also thinking, like, I don't want, when I die and the screen fades to black, I don't want him to be like, ha ha ha.
Oh,
bitch,
that's what I'm saying. Both.
Cut off.
Both.
Yeah. It needs to stop for both.
Dude, as soon as your PMC goes to 0 health, it needs to cut that line immediately.
Now the thing is that sometimes you die and you can hear the people like looting you, and I hate that. I hate
that, dude. Or you didn't know where you died from, and then you hear running, and you're like, I hate you.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously I think that would be like a bug.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about it. Anybody that's worried about it, you could be worried about it. You are entitled to your opinion.
You are totally.
I just don't want to fucking read it ever again, and I'm going to ignore you. And everybody in chat is going to roll your eyes and tell you to shut the fuck up, because what you're saying is not novel. It's not new. It's not thought out. It's just, you might as well come in and be like, hey, how about that flat Earth? Like,
yeah, 100%.
I would rather have a discussion with a flat earther all stream than somebody who fucking wants to tell me that VoIP is going to ruin the game.
Yeah. So getting news and rant. So getting news on that was exciting, because that's something you and I are both, and that goes back to what we were saying, bro. If VoIP is implemented well, you're gonna buy it. Yeah, you don't have to give me another map for like a year, another year or two, because it's just gonna change the game, dude. So that's exciting. Nikita talked a little bit about scav karma and about how like they want to do a lot. He said there want to be a lot more ways to increase your karma, more ways to decrease your karma. Like, we knew that like the label for this was like scav karma V1. You know what I mean? So we knew that this was like them testing stuff out. I don't know if you saw this, but they did increase the amount for killing bad player scavs and for killing PMCs from 0.01 to 0.03, which I think is good, because 0.01 was rough.
Yeah, it should be more, but I
agree. Like, I think it either should be more or there should be more ways to do it, but it definitely helps, because like I don't think I've gone up at all in the past 2 weeks. I scav reserve a lot.
I haven't changed.
Raiders are non-existent on reserve scav runs for me. I do not know why.
I've been running into every raid.
No PMCs, no scavs are bad on reserve. It's like the reserve's the friendliest place on planet Earth, man. There's no bad, and all the PMCs are gone, because all the PMCs extracted in D2 in 7.5 seconds.
As soon as I scav in, I enter above D2 with the alarm going off, and I see raiders walking, and it's like,
I wish.
And then what happens is I'll like pop a headshot, and I'll like, there's 3 or 4 are gonna perfectly aimbot aggro me, and I'll like try to flank around and whatever. And then usually what happens is by the time I make it back, there's already 2 or 3 other player scavs that have looted half the shit that I like earned. But I'm like, oh, okay. That happened to me today, actually, before the stream. I killed like all of them. Made my way in. There was one guy like in the corner bush that hadn't been looted, and it was a player scav who had been killed, and he had a magazine case and a money case in his backpack. And it was like, I rolled up, there's a bunch of fucking raiders dead, and I was like, oh, all the good shit is taken, and there's one guy there, and I'm like, I guess I'll just loot this. And I opened up the bag, and it was like, oh, I like grabbed it, wiggled to the guys, and I was like, later.
See ya.
It just fucked off. It was like, oh, okay, like, sick.
That's insane, man. I've got nothing. I got no raiders, no nothing. But so yeah, so they want to increase and do all the different things for scav karma, which is exciting. And we need that. Here is the other, and this, I don't know, we've been going for a while, but this is the last thing that's made me sad and a little discouraging. I was just in DMs with Nice Guy talking about this beforehand, because I reached out to him. I watched his video, and it sounded like he said that Nikita said that they're looking into allowing player scavs to spawn in raids earlier. So I watched the video again, and I was like, all right, he said that. So then I DM'd him. I was like, is this real life? Like, did you? And he's like, they're looking into it. They're looking into this, and I think that's such a terrible idea, bro. I think that is such a bad idea. I can't see a benefit of making player scavs spawn in earlier.
So, I mean, the benefit is, as a player scav, you'll run into PMCs more often. Yes. Now, so there's two sides of it.
So one disproportionately benefits the person that risked nothing.
Yes, that's easier to address than like convince PMCs to stay in raids longer. Like, that's a taller.
It's a taller order, but in my opinion, it is the infinitely more rewarding for Escape from Tarkov order.
But it's going to involve like brand new mechanics and not just like changing a parameter in a config file somewhere, right? Like,
sure, which makes total sense.
But the alternative is that I would be okay with it, assuming that they spawn way on the fucking outskirts, almost like behind you in a way. Like I hate when, if the time it takes me when I spawn on customs and then I get all the way to like the middle of the map and there's 10 player scavs there, that sucks. I want them, when I'm in the middle of the map now, I want them to spawn on the outside and have to make their way in. So then when you make your way out, it's almost like they're coming, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that would make it so that you would have more engagements throughout a raid. You have like, you know, spawn fights potentially, but then also high loot areas fights, and then on their way out, potentially player scavs. I'd be fine with it too if they turned down the number of player scavs and then also, you know, made it so that they spawned it. I mean, I don't know. There's a universe where it sucks and it's terrible.
Yeah.
That's probably the universe we live in. But again, it's one of those things like we'll have to fucking see.
And you're absolutely right, because like it was a more passing comment. We don't know, like you were saying, like a lot of things. And I was talking with Nice Guy about this, how like a lot of things would affect my opinion on that. Like if the game was open world, or a lot of the maps were extended, or if the amount of player scavs that, you know, could spawn in at one time was decreased, like you were saying, or like we've talked about before, like, you know,
random map.
Dude, random map would infinitely change how I thought about that. Or even
because it would make it so that like right now it's probably
an
all
equal
the
threat
scavs on
everywhere.
reserve.
Yes.
Now all the scavs are on reserve and factory, and then there's like no player scavs at any point in any raid in like Shoreline
or Woods.
Think about player scavs in Shoreline. I'll only ever encounter them maybe if I'm going to that back exfil.
Yeah. 100%.
But like
and
otherwise,
they're stash hunting, yeah. Or same on Woods.
So I mean, assuming that they can be anywhere at any time, but in much lower numbers, that makes it more interesting for the player scav.
All I'm saying is that like that, if nothing changes except that line of the code that says, you know, player scavs can now spawn with PMCs as opposed to 10 minutes later, if nothing changes, that to me feels like the most anti-escape from Tarkov decision you could make. That to me, in my opinion, that's clumped in with like your player randomly getting diarrhea or tripping over a stick. Like that to me is in the bucket of like, yeah, you can make the game hard, but that doesn't make the game fun. You know what I mean? Spontaneous human combustion is not a mechanic that should be introduced to a hardcore military shooter. So if you're telling me that I spend a little bit of time grinding my hideout and I spend a little bit of time grinding my scav karma, now I can spawn into a raid every single 10 minutes, risk nothing. I know all the loot's going to be there, and every other scav that I get is going to have like a Vepr Hunter, an SA-58, an SV-98, or a Mosin. I feel
like you'd have to nerf scavs if
I
they do that.
can one-tap anybody.
Yeah.
They made the ability to purchase most face shields behind really high-level quests, so now scavs are more lethal than ever. They have a wider range of gear than ever. The scav karma makes that gear better, and the scav karma means the scavs aren't fighting each other. So now I literally have a horde of zombies that risked nothing, and you're selling me a game that's about preparation and the more gear you bring in, the better chance you have at survival. That's just de facto not true. I bring in worse gear to reserve because I will lose it. Because if I win a fight, I'm going to have 11 player scavs on me in 7 seconds. And no matter what you're wearing, you can't defeat, you know what I mean, an 11-man of scavs coming at you because there's just too many of them. So I bring worse gear to reserve. So if you're telling me that on those maps, like those scavs will have an equal opportunity to me to get the loot, and like, dude, I would that to me, like, and once again, like we gotta for sure preface this with like Nikita did not go into a deep dive on like we are gonna do this and here's why we're gonna do it. I think it was in response to questions about how like it's basically impossible, like you were saying, to kill PMCs as a scav because there's just like they always leave. But I would start a GoFundMe and start making a different game called Escape from Barkov and try and because that just seems so anti-escape from Tarkov.
Escape from Tarkov.
Yeah, I would, dude. Oh.
EFDFT.
F-theft. F-theft.
EFEFT.
E-theft, yeah.
Like if those never mind.
And here's the thing. Here's the announcement. My mind is very willing to be changed. Like if I sat down with Nikita or he did a podcast and he talked about it and he was like, yo, this is what we want to do and here's why and this. Like I don't hold these opinions tightly. You know what I mean? But it's just like that's my knee-jerk reaction to that. It's just like I would want to bring gear less because like I don't know, man. Like this is the pull. Like I feel like scavs are already OP. Like you can do it so often. You are risking absolutely nothing. You can get great gear from it. And now you have the benefit of numbers. You know what I mean? So it's like I think we go the other way. We incentivize PMCs to stay in raids longer, and it's a win-win. You know what I mean? Like, and what you're saying is right. I can't just snap a finger and do the dead drops. But that's a win-win. The PMC has a chance to accomplish a goal and be okay with maybe losing some of that gear, and the scav has a chance to get gear later in the raid. I just think why are the raid timers 50 minutes? Like especially if they're going to do that. Like you make reserve a 17-minute raid, nobody would tell the difference except for the player scavs. You know what I mean? If you allow them to spawn in,
except for that one, for the 1 in 20 where you actually like are the survivor of a fucking 1v4, v5, v3, and the timer's at 2 minutes and it's like, well, I can't loot and get out, so I guess I just get nothing. That's, I guess, the part that sucks, because you spent all of your time repositioning and flanking and healing and then looting and stuff. But those. I'm happy to be in. If I'm in a raid until the timer goes out, that's like I'm gonna tell my grandkids about that.
I love it.
This raid is gonna be for the books.
I agree.
It's so rare.
Yep.
But yeah. Someone had a really great idea. In the chat, they said we can solve the problem by just getting rid of scav karma. That's gonna be the new get rid of the flea market.
Oh my god.
Get rid of scav karma. That's gonna be the new thing where we're not gonna be able to fucking tell if people are memeing or not because it's such a hot take.
Yeah, it's such a. But this is where I feel like you've expressed this fear a lot of times, where they put something out with a lot of potential, and then the direction they take it is completely antithetical to like the direction it should go. Like you're concerned with like, we're going to do VoIP. And then they allude to like, we're going to do VoIP with like walkie talkies. You're like, no, that's worse than no VoIP. You know what I mean? Like in a way, this is where it's like they introduced scav karma and I was very like, it needs work, but this is dope. And it's like, in order to fix the scav karma things, we're going to make it so running your PMC is actually the worst thing you could do for your finances in this game. I'm like, no. You're like, this is going to be Escape from Tarkov as a scav. Like this will be the new name of the game
unless scavs are like loot pinatas and they spawn with like a red card, but they can't take it out with them or something like it's something where it was like there's actually a reward to the risk. Cause right now there's no reward.
Nothing. So there's no reward as a PMC to engage with the onslaught of player scavs. And there's only a reward for them to chase you down in mega numbers. You know what I mean? It's not balanced in the risk reward for both teams. In a game that's all about acquire wealth, build, why would you even, like, you know what I mean? You might as well get out of the scav raid, transfer everything to your PMC, and then burn it to the ground. Because what are you going to do? Are you going to go buy a slick with all that money you made, go into reserve, and then just give it to a player scav? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's my fear. So it's not all bad, but that's the fear. It's like the concern is like, no. Scav karma has so much potential. Let's just ease it in the right direction here. You know what I mean? Like, now I have no say. Nikita will not watch this podcast. I have no say in him. He is going to do whatever he wants. And to once again reiterate, we don't have like hard information here. It was a passing comment he made in a Russian podcast or whatever. It concerned me and I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, we'll see. We're coming to the end, and so there's something that. So me and Jesse are you still available to play to raid?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna do some raids after this, and one of the things I wanna. This is actually funny. I wanna pose the question now. for people to maybe think about over the next week. We can talk about it tonight while we're rating, and then maybe if it's an interesting conversation at all, we can talk about it next week. But somebody, for once in like, this is like a once a year thing, somebody comes in and asks me a fucking question that I'm like, oh my God, great question. That hasn't been asked 8 billion times. And the question was, is it possible that Scav Karma might disproportionately hurt new players who would otherwise have used Scav combat to practice and train? I thought, holy shit, because that was like, I could go in and shoot all the bots and the player scavs, and that was a no risk way of really practicing all of the combat, reload, heal up, move around, and not have to worry so much about it. And it's better than offline mode. Offline mode now seems to be like the only way that you can do it. But before, I used to scav on factory just so I could fucking engage with a couple of player scavs, maybe a player or two, and a bunch of bots. I thought that was really interesting. So we're going to be rating after the podcast is over. And if you guys are interested in that conversation, come hang and chill out, either in my stream or in Jesse's stream. But yeah, that's an interesting question.
That is an interesting question. That's a very interesting question.
I forget who asked it, and I'm sorry, but you should sleep well knowing that you asked first question in 9 months. First question in 9 months that made me actually go, huh, and not, ugh.
That's good. But yeah, so we're coming up on 2 hours here. Actually, I don't know if you saw this, but we got more than a few more 2-hour podcasts, please. Comments, like people really vibe with the driving around and listening and stuff, which just makes me feel good, man. That's super dope. But we're coming up on that mark here, and we talked about a lot of stuff. I do weirdly feel like we flipped seats this podcast, where I was complaining the whole time and you were like just like way optimistic. Like I feel I was like, I've never
not optimistic.
I've never,
just
dude,
realistic.
Optimistic. We totally switched sides. Anyways, I do think I think it was funny. I'm still super excited about the game. You know what I mean? There's so much.
Come on, dude. It's completely fucked. What are you talking about?
I'm so excited about the game. I'm so excited to go get some raids. We're going to go get some raids here right after this. So
there's one other thing I want to say before we go, because we haven't actually done talk about some Poggers content outside of anything. But there's one thing that I've been binging, and it's my wife's new favorite thing for me and her to watch while we hang out, and I've been super enjoying it and would very highly recommend it. There's a channel on YouTube called, I believe it's 7-4 Gear.
Interesting.
Which is a dude. His name is Kelsey, I believe. He's a 747 pilot, and he reacts to. He has a bunch of different things. There's watching plane crashes in movies, but then also watching plane crashes from videos and helicopter crashes and people who fuck up or who have amazing saves. And it's made me super interested and fascinated with aviation. And he's super cool. And he also has other ones where it's cockpit confessionals, where they talk about meeting strippers that you find out was you go to a strip club and you realize that was my flight attendant that was working there. There's just tons of stories and crazy stuff. And he's a really, really down to earth, super awesome, critical thinker. I would highly recommend 7-4 Gear. Check it out. So good. There's hours of content.
Dude,
Thank me
I
later.
just found him. Yeah, I just subscribed on YouTube. I'm so excited to watch some of these videos.
I wanted to get that out there before because I didn't want to wait another week. I forgot to mention it last week, and it's there's a week of entertainment. I'm gonna watch a bunch of it. That's what I need. I need more bite-sized videos. You know what I mean? 10, 15 minutes. You're gonna love this guy, dude. I want this guy. I was thinking about getting him on the podcast for there's no reason, but maybe cool. We'll get. He's just fucking rad.
Yeah.
Maybe enough people will say they like it, and maybe you'll like it enough that maybe I'll reach out to him. And yeah,
I'm excited to watch it for sure. But thank you guys seriously for hanging with us this week. The normal deal. This will be on YouTube and all the podcast platforms early next week. We'll be back here I almost said tomorrow, next week for more Tarkov stuff and potentially more just Pogger stuff, because I do miss talking about some of that other stuff. So thank you guys for hanging, and we will definitely see you all in the next one.
Peace.